Welcome back, my friends, my brothers and sisters in Christ. You're listening to Unlike Other Nations, and I'm Father Tom Coys.
And I'm John Coys.
We are brothers indeed. We are here with you once again this morning. Thanks for tuning in. Today is December 12th, and it's a big day in the Catholic Church, especially those who have any knowledge about an amazing miracle that happened in the year 1531. I'm referring to Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, before you touch that dial and just turn off your radio because it's something of Mexican culture and has nothing to do with us, I want you to reconsider. Please listen to this story in some way, because it's not just about Mexico. It is about the new world that Christianity came and transformed.
Yes.
And the country of Mexico developed out of this apparition. The United States developed out of the Christian people who came here, and we have developed into a great nation. Mexico, I would like to say, started out and had some very more prosperous time, and has since recently fallen into some bad times. And I believe returning to their roots and understanding their Christian foundation is key and essential into building Mexico up again, as well as lots of the Hispanic world.
And we'd like to remind listeners we have a guest on the phone with us here today. Tim Watkins is his name. He's a producer and director of a new movie that'll be coming out next year titled The Blood and the Rose, about the apparition and the miracle of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Welcome, Tim Watkins.
Thanks. It's great to be back. Indeed.
We need to continue. Maybe those who heard our show last week, we did talk about your movie. One aspect of the movie that I'd like to touch on, something that you won't see if you go watch it, but you may have the same experience I had when I saw a preview, and that is the amazing reaction that the audience had. Amazing in the sense that there was a lot of negativity spewed toward you, the producer, and it had to do with that aspect of telling the story of Guadalupe that refers to the Spanish conquistadors and their history coming from Spain. Maybe to put in the context of the people, Cortez was one of the famous conquistadors that came to this new world from Spain, and it only took him 3 years from the day he set foot on the shores of what is now Veracruz until he had the Mayan capital city of Mexico City. Wasn't called that back then, of course. And he conquered that empire in less than 3 years. And they were on a mission. Of course, there were abuses. Of course, they weren't saints in every way, but they had a very realistic sense that Christianity is what the world needs. And these people were worshiping false gods, and especially their traditions of human sacrifices were particularly abhorrent and objectionable to the conquistadors. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, that's it's a pretty good description. One addition I would have: they landed in Veracruz, they encountered the Mayans, but ultimately in Mexico City, it was the Aztecs or the Mexica who were the prevailing party of control.
Montezuma.
That's right, Montezuma.
Anybody who's gone to Mexico on a vacation knows what Montezuma is, because we know what Montezuma's revenge is.
Well, you know what the sad thing is that some people probably think it's a water problem.
Yeah, right.
They don't know the real history of it. And that's in many senses what we ran into when we screened the film at the university, where people's reactions were one of what they understood and what they have been taught. And as I was very happy to say, we have scoured the books of history and have gone through endless amounts of material to ensure as much, if not 100%, the truth and accuracy of what we have portrayed in the film.
What I got a sense of, excuse me for interrupting, Tim, what I got a sense of from the audience is that the reference to the incredible difficulty of the Spaniards living under the Moorish Empire was kind of portrayed as almost like what Reagan portrayed the Russian Empire as, the evil empire. Right.
And that's a great point, because dare I say, in today's society, I think we're overly Muslim sensitive, where you just said the evil empire of the Russians does not imply, you're not implying, and at least I don't think you're implying, that all Russians were evil and bad.
No.
Nor would anyone who said the Japanese bombed us at Pearl Harbor think that every Japanese person was behind that. But today, when we've seen reactions on current TV and culture, I believe most recently with Bill O'Reilly and the View group, where their reaction to Bill O'Reilly saying Muslims attacked us sent such an outrage. We have to engage in civil dialogue. And one of the really exciting things about the aftermath of the screening of the film at the university was that people of different backgrounds and different cultures engaged in a very civil conversation. Some people were more upset than others, but they contained themselves, and they addressed their questions respectfully, and as a result, an incredible dialogue. And if I could get people angry at me, but willing to, because of that, to go look at the resources or sources of the information and to dive further into these topics, then I would say mission accomplished. Because seeking the truth, and I think we believe this, especially you, Father, and hopefully our audience believes that seeking the truth is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right. And one of the truths is that all people are brothers and sisters under one God. But another part of the truth is the way we organize our societies and establish laws can be either in harmony with God's ways or against God's ways.
And if we believe everything like we're supposed to, Revelations 12 says there was a war in heaven, basically between the devil and his angels against God and his angels, and the devil lost and he got hurled down to earth. Now I contend that if there's a just war between good and evil in heaven, we better believe there's going to be a spiritual war and physical war between good and evil on earth.
Exactly, and we see it played out in the history.
We do.
Pages of history.
Tim, can I ask you about your new project, your forthcoming movie, The Blood and the Rose? Do you see this as also as an educational endeavor? Will people learn something about Our Lady of Guadalupe or...
Absolutely. I think most. I would tell you this is a bold statement, but I've got I have to put a disclaimer. I have no statistical information to back this up, but I feel like 95% of the people don't know the real story of Guadalupe. I think that most people don't even know that there is no Guadalupe, Mexico. The Guadalupe is actually in Spain, and it's a hinge point for the entire story of what occurred.
And what would that hinge point be?
Well, it was a city in which a statue was buried that was carved by St. Luke, the gospel writer. And that statue was given by Pope Gregory the Great to St. Leander, the Bishop of Seville, in the late 500s. And when the Muslims, then known as the Moors, overran the Iberian Peninsula, they took this statue and buried it up in the hills a couple hundred miles from Seville. Now, it's important to note that the reason they did this was because the Muslims were very iconoclastic. They destroyed all art and history that they could, thus erasing the memory of what really was.
That was their form of books in some way before books were invented.
Exactly. It was all art.
Were the libraries.
Which is why it's so important that we, a lot of our story and a lot of our learnings came from the codices of the Aztec and Mexicas. Was an interesting part of it, but as we continue on, I mean, the Muslims overran Spain. They actually named this town, which was next to a river. They named the river the Wolf River, where this town would grow. And wolf in Latin is lupe, and river in Arabic is Guade. This became known as the town of Guadalupe in Spain. Now, important enough, an apparition occurred to a shepherd that there was a statue there to unearth it, and it would change the tide of the war. They did so, and she requested that a church be built. They built a small chapel, and sure enough, the tide of the war slowly changed. Well, this church became the inflection point because it was a sanctuary for Queen Isabella, also known as Queen Isabella the Catholic, named by the Pope. But she would hang out there, and lo and behold, that is the place where Columbus signed the documents with Queen Isabella in this church in Guadalupe.
To get his boats?
The
money?
It's where he got his money and his approval from the Queen to go to the Americas.
Yeah. It happened, we all know, everyone who went to school knows he sailed the ocean blue in 1492, the same year that Queen Isabella finally got back Granada.
Right.
It's the ending of the 700 years of Islamic dominance in Spain.
Tim, you've done other projects of interest, and I'd like to go into those a little bit in our second half. You have a movie out there on Ronald Reagan. I'd like to probe that.
What's the name of that one?
In the Face of Evil.
In the Face of Evil.
Excellent. There is a rich relationship between our faith and what we do as political people. They should not be oil and vinegar, but peanut butter and jelly.